Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast, the podcast designed to challenge you to break the mold that average has on the world. Each episode offers insights directly from those who choose to break average every day. Now for the latest insights, here are your hosts, Paul Gustafson and Barry Smith.
Hey, Breaking Average fans. Hey, listen, I have an amazing interview I want to share with you. It's Lieutenant Commander Trey Fischer. We did this interview for my work, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Lean in, listen in. You're going to love what you have to hear from Lieutenant Commander Fischer. So we'll connect with you soon, all right? Check us out on breakingaverage.com, all right? All right, thanks, guys.
I just love working in a team, and I love my boys. And 0% of the operations that I have would be successful without my guys. Anything I do, I need them. I need to rely on them. And it's refreshing in the SEAL teams because I can just let go. I'm like, I don't have to question, like, is he gonna? No, I just know, like, hey, I need you to do this. It gets done. We call it fire and forget. Fire and forget. All I have to do is with one of my guys, like, hey, I need this done. I won't have to say anything. No micromanaging. Just come back, it's done.
All right, here I am with Lieutenant Commander Fischer. Lieutenant Commander Fischer, great to see you. Thanks for jumping in on this call. And I know you wanted to be with us here for a live event, Imagineering Day, but it's so good just to connect with you on a Zoom. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. And excuse me, Paul. And Paul, hey, you don't need to call me Lieutenant Commander Fischer. You can call me Trey. That's how we do it in the platoons. Okay. Yeah, that is my official rank, but we go by first name. So Trey is just fine. And, you know, the first thing I want to say is, one, thank you. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. And two, I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but just due to medical situations and the surgery I'm going to be going through, I won't be able to attend. But I promise in the future, I will make sure to be there in person. I want to meet everybody within the company. I have a passion to see teams and to see how teams operate and teams thrive. And I want to meet as many teams as I possibly can.
Yeah, definitely value what you've done. And tell us a little bit about the story. What's it like? What do you have to go through to be a Navy SEAL?
Well, it kind of all starts from your why, your purpose. Why are you doing this? You know, a lot of people ask, you know, how do you get through SEAL training? Because as many know, SEAL training's and I will say the hardest military training in the world. That's why, you know, you have an attrition rate that only, you know, roughly, 10 to 15% will make it through when you start with 200 very elite candidates going through, and you whittle it down to 10% towards the end of training. In one instance, there was zero. Nobody made it through. But how do those people grind through? You know, there's certain circumstances where you could be medically disrolled, so you just have bad luck where you break your legs or, you know, something that gets you out of the class. But for all the others, it's mostly because they quit, and it's because they let fear, insecurity, all of those things overtake them. And in the SEAL teams, training's very tough. It is hard, but you have to discover what it is, why you're doing this. You know, a lot of people say, you know, for your country. For my instance, that's how it did all start. But when you go through BUDS, it's about teamwork. If you want to make it through SEAL training, look at your teammates, look around you, see how you can help them. And when you do that, it takes all the pain off of you. You ignore the pain on yourself. You're more worried about them than yourself. So guess what? You don't have time to worry about quitting. You don't have time to worry about anything else. That's why people quit, because they start having this internal dialogue with themselves. I'm cold. I'm tired. This is terrible. Well, guess what? Your mind's going to break. You're going to break. And so they are letting fear also take control because they're looking too far ahead rather than what's happening right now. Do you have your breath? Are you alive? Are you good? Yep. You're good. You're good. Stop thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. Because a lot of people, what happens is the first day of SEAL training, like, this is horrible. This is terrible. This is insane. And I have to do this for a year plus because BUDS is 6 months and SQT 7 months. So I have to endure this. And this is only day one. So guess what? They're letting fear of the unknown get in their brain, and they're thinking a year down the road rather than right now. Are you okay right now? Yes, you are okay right now. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. One step. Just take one step at a time.
Yeah, you're saying a lot here, and I'm capturing notes. And thank you for being on this quick call. Lifting up others, that is so important. Tell me a moment where somebody lifted you up, like you were going through a challenge, and somebody just came alongside of you, spoke that word, spoke life to you. Do you have a story or two on that?
One of my best friends. So I was lucky. I was really lucky. So I went through officer candidate school, and my best friend, Dave Spalding, he's a SEAL too, lieutenant commander, same rank. We went through BUDS together, but we grew up together too. So we grew up in this very small town in Maryland. Maybe some of you guys know Solomon's Island, Maryland. We grew up together. So we had known each other for years. So it was like having my brother in BUDS with me. So when I'm looking at my teammates, making sure they're okay, I also had to make sure my brother was okay. Dave. So it made BUDS super easy for me. Like, it sounds weird. Like, don't get me wrong. I wasn't perfect. I messed up. I was always riding the lightning. Maybe I could have got kicked out or whatever, but I made it through. And, but I had Dave, and Dave, I always looked to him as, for help whenever I needed it. And he looked to me for help whenever he needed it. And so he had certain strengths, and I had certain strengths. He was a terrible swimmer, but we were always swim partners. So I'd always push him. But he was great. He's a great runner. He was a lacrosse player. He played at Hopkins. He was a national champion at Hopkins. Great, super stellar athlete. Dave's loyal as anything. But I remember when we were in Hell Week, and again, I helped him, but I'll tell you the time he helped me in Hell Week. So Hell Week, for full disclosure, it's like the fourth. When I was going through, it was like the fourth or fifth week. But now they adjust it sometimes. And everybody thinks it's the hardest part. Yeah, it's hard. But you have to remember, that's the beginning of SEAL training. It's really just to weed more people out. Circle back to Dave. So we were about Wednesday of Hell Week, and I don't know why, but when we would do like surf torture, are you familiar with what the surf torture was? It's when the guys link up and they put us in the water, and we're like just jackhammering, shivering, and
wet
we're
and
cold.
sandy, right? Wet and sandy.
Yeah, being wet. But with surf torture, you just sit in the water.
Yeah.
And they just want you to freeze, like just be super cold. And that's how a lot of people quit, because the water's just so cold. Yeah. But anyways, I kept falling asleep. So I would like keep falling asleep in the water. And so then they would yell at you to get out. And there was Dave, just loyal as anything. There was me sleeping. Dave would pick me up. He'd come on. He'd always get me to go, get up. And every time, because we would do it, and I just kept falling asleep. I couldn't help it because we hadn't slept with Dave. But, it was just, Dave was always like that. No matter what, we were there, and if it were him, I would do the same. Mm-hmm. But it was just the fact that, there was never a sense, and this is how it just is in the SEAL teams. There's never that sense of, how there's like individuals within a team that it's like, I got to look good. I got to look good for the boss. So I'm going to shield everybody out. No, in the SEAL teams, it's different. There is no, I got to look good for the boss. It's, I got to look good for everybody else. I got to look good for the team. Stop focusing on what's above you and focus on everybody with you, because they're going to rise you up. Steel, what we have it saying, steel sharpens steel. So if you're around your teammates that are good, that are great, that are even better than you, they're going to make you better. And that's what the whole dynamic of the SEAL teams is we are very diverse. And so what I mean by diverse, it's not what we hear about in the news and all that stuff. No, it's a diverse set of skills and backgrounds, and we all feed off of each other. So one guy may have been, it's crazy the dynamics within the SEAL team. So in my last platoon, one of my guys was a gold medal Olympian. So one of my new guys, so I'm his platoon commander. I won't say his name, but he was a gold medal Olympian. And, this is the kind of caliber we have. But at the same time, we have guys that never did a sport ever, but they all were driven by that same sense of purpose, that same sense of why. And I value an Olympian's input and the guy that never played a sports input. They're all the same, because we all are striving for perfection, and to make sure, one, we take care of each other. Two, we make sure we get the mission done. And three, we always remain loyal to the country.
You said earlier, you mentioned the why, and you just shared the mission and loyal to that. 5 years old, you told me earlier, when you were 5 years old, you knew this. Take us there. That why was developed early on, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, sir. So it sounds weird. You're like 5 years old? No way. Oh yeah, trust me. So when I was in elementary school, I would check out this one book from the library, and it was on one. I always loved to check out books on World War II. Honestly, I like planes too, but I'd also get a book on Navy SEALs and special operations, and I just thought it was amazing what I read about them. And I come from a small town in Maryland, and so all I talked about was SEALs. Everybody in the town knew what Trey Fischer wanted to do. If you ask, hey, what does that guy Trey want to do? Ask my teachers, every student, they'd be like, oh, yeah, he wants to be a Navy SEAL. But despite the fact that they knew that, there's naysayers too. And the whole time I was growing up, they'd be like, you have any idea how hard that is? You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And I was just like, okay, that's fine. And as I kept getting older, going through middle school, everybody still knew what I wanted to do. You sure you want to do this? Yep. September 11th happens. Oh, yeah. Now I'm even more motivated. You bet. You bet. So now I'm getting up in high school. People are like, Trey, you have no idea how hard it is. You sure you want to do this? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. And I kept going. And I used it, one, as fuel. Like, oh, yeah, you're going to tell me what I can't do? Oh. And a lot of SEALs that go through, they always have a chip on their shoulder. And I'll say, I had a chip on my shoulder. You want to tell me what I can't do? Mm-hmm. You're not going to tell me what I can't do. I will show you what I'm going to do. Mm. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to do it. And that was the thing that motivated me through training, and everything I did was, I come from a small town, right? So it puts a lot of pressure on you. I've told everybody I wanted to be a SEAL since I was 5. And it's kind of this thing that you're talking about, sir, about being all in.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do it since I was 5. And so, that's where it was. I was motivated by a book from elementary school in it, just seeing what they were capable of. It really, it sounds as, as cheesy as it is I looked up to people like Captain America growing up. Like that's America. Like that's what you need. America is an ideal that I truly believe in. And that's where it really stemmed, besides just the SEALs. And why not do it with the best? You serve with the best. You don't strive for mediocre. You strive for the highest level you can.
Yeah. And one of the things that's speaking to me is that you had naysayers in your life that says, I wouldn't, who are you to do that? You replied back essentially like, who says that I can't? But did you cast that vision? And did you, in the middle of buds and being wet and sandy and all those experiences and everything, do you keep that mission in your forefront of your mind, the vision that you have? Do you keep that in play? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And especially as a platoon commander, whenever you brief an op, we call it an op order, an operation order. Whenever you brief, and some people maybe in the audience, maybe our military, so they know what it means. But, as a platoon commander, I'm the one that establishes for any op a mission statement, key tasks, and the end state for that mission. And the whole time that you go, as soon as you leave on the helos to go, that's all you focus on. How do we get to that end state, and how do we achieve that objective? And you have to also, but while you do it, that is in the forefront of your mind. But you also can't be stubborn enough to not be flexible with the mission. Because guess what? When you do mission planning, who's not at the table doing the planning with you? The enemy. They have a say in it. So guess what? We make plans, we make missions, but the plan for the op, there's always a contingency. Something always goes wrong. It never goes according to plan. But as long as we can fall back on that mission, what needs to be done, whether that's a direct action raid or foreign internal defense, anything like that, focus on what needs to get done. And if plan A doesn't work, so what? That's not acceptable to just, plan A doesn't work, we're done. No. What's plan B? And even if that means we're out in the field and all of a sudden I grab a stick and I'm like, all right, this is plan B. Or my senior enlisted advisor, my E7 or whatever, hey, come up with a game plan on the tactical side, okay? All right, on the sand, 5 minutes. But guess what? Maybe we had planned this whole op for a month. Maybe we planned for a month and it all goes wrong in 1 second. But that's the thing. You have to understand you have to be flexible. And again, also, it falls on reputation. Why do you think the SEALs, and I'm not saying I'm cool. I'm talking about my forefathers, all my other brothers, everybody else in the SEAL teams.
Why do they have the reputation, and why do the SEAL teams have the reputation that we have? Not because we just didn't want to get the mission done. How good is that? Oh yeah, we never accomplished the mission. No, it's about the reputation that trident on the chest holds. We have to live to the reputation. We can't make it a myth. We can't make it a fraud. You have to worry. This is it. We have a saying, earn your trident every day.
Mm.
And so you have to winning. You have to win. That's just how it goes. But it's a collective effort. We all feel the same way. It's we.
Yeah.
Like when we debrief, nobody's saying, oh, you see that shot? You see that? No. Hey, we need to work on this. We need to do this better. We debrief everything. We can do this. And now you take ownership on your mistakes. Like, hey, boys, I messed up. I'll fix it for next time. Very frank discussion. But it's all the reason why we have these direct communication critiques is so if we're doing training for a mission, that we can accomplish that mission, because that's what it's all about. Wins are critical. That's how you build the reputation that you have.
I love this. Earn your trident every day. I mean, that's a tagline for all of us. I mean, and as you know, one of our themes here is all in. You're really speaking to me, I think to everybody, on this concept of all in. Talk about knowing each other's strengths as it relates to all in. How important is that?
It's huge. It's huge. Knowing each other is critically important, because you want to give the guy a job that he's most passionate about. So like in the platoon, for example. So before we start a workup cycle, which is getting ready for deployment, you have a professional development part, tactics and training part, which we call ULT, and you move into SUT, which is like, full mission profiles and working on like operations, like mock operations, very in-depth, realistic type scenarios. But during that pro dev cycle, that's where you send off guys to school to learn to be snipers and all that stuff. If you don't know them, maybe you send a guy to sniper school that has no passion behind being a sniper. Like, yeah, so he'll do the job because he's forced to, but you'll get a C plus answer or a C minus answer, because it's not really where his heart is. He's not where he's passionate about. But if you get the guy that's like a gun nut, he's loved guns his whole life, he's like, just send me to sniper school. All right, you're going. So guess what? Now you're going to get the A plus answer, because the guy, one, is going to school he wanted to do. He's becoming a sniper that he wanted to be, and he's passionate about it. It's not a job to him. It's just a passion. He loves it. So whether I send him to sniper school or not, he's going to do that because that's what he loves. So in the teams, that's what, my role and my chief's role is to really know the guys. What makes them thrive? There's some guys that just love skydiving. So then I send them to free fall jump master school to be the lead jumper. So they lead, because everybody in the SEAL teams is a leader. Whether I may be positional authority, but that doesn't mean I'm always the leader. I am positionally, yes, I am responsible for my platoon, but it doesn't mean that I'm not always the leader. I know when to be quiet and let the jump mat. They're the experts on sniping. They're the experts on skydiving, all that stuff. We're all trained to it, but there's guys that are the highest passion, the highest love for that thing. And guess what? They're going to make everybody better because they're going to teach everybody. But really, you need to know them and know their passions. If you know what somebody's passions in within the team, company, or whatever, let them go down that avenue, because you're going to get the most out of them. If you do that, it's not work to them anymore. It's a calling.
Yeah, it's such a great point of what you're making, because we really need to understand our teammates around us. And so a Navy SEAL just isn't given a task and a role right before a mission, right? They spend some time together to build that teamwork before you even go and try to achieve the mission. Is that right?
Sir, that's putting it mildly. I'll just say I know my guys better than I know my family. You are with them all the time. You want to talk about privacy? Doesn't exist. We live together. We sleep together. We do everything together. Literally. And so it gets to the point where I know them too well, and I'm with them all the time. Like, we would be out training all night, and they knew, just for me, once we got back, no matter how long, I needed an hour of decompress time. So I would get like big noise canceling headphones, and they knew as soon as I put them on, it's like, don't bug Trey. So I had to have an out because it's like you were just with them all the time. So you know everything. So we get to the point, and this is where I think elite teams really operate, is you get to the point where literally I don't even need to talk to them anymore. They could just make a grunting noise like, I'll be like, oh, you need water? Like, I know exactly what I can just see. If they move their nose a certain way, I know, oh, okay, he's mad. Like, they don't need, we can have like nonverbal communication completely. I can read, it's almost like mind reading. And it really helps that when we go in and do like CQC and raids in the house or whatever, we can feed off each other's body language. We don't even need to talk. Like you go through and do it. You don't talk to each other. You just look at him and you're like, oh, I see what he's doing. In your mind, you can see it. So we know each other so well, you don't even have to talk anymore. Talking's not necessary. And if you've ever been on night vision or nods, your depth perception's off. You don't see perfectly. But I can tell who somebody is just by the way they move. I'm like, oh, that's Johnny. Like, and so I don't even have to see their face. We are together so much. It's full on immersion.
Yeah, that's powerful. I love that. And I know that we have a hard stop, so I'm going to try to ask just two more questions to kind of land the plane here. But man, this has been good. I've enjoyed it. Talk about how you celebrate with the team, right? Because there's no I here in team, and we get it. How do you guys celebrate those accomplishments? What do you guys do?
Sir, I'll be honest. There's not much. We don't really celebrate too much. It's always, if we got the job done and mission was a success, that was expected of you.
Yeah.
So we have a saying, you have 5 minutes for two things. You have 5 minutes to take in your accomplishment and be like, good job, good job. And then you have 5 minutes also on the inverse side. If you screw up, take 5 minutes, stop dwelling on it. It's over. And just like the mission, we were supposed to do it. Act like you've been there. Yep, we got the job done. Thank you. And that's it. Because you don't need to celebrate. It's expected of you. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. And guess what? Now the thing is we are super critical. Even if we get it done very well, no matter what we do, sir, we always have a debrief. So even if it goes great, we have a debrief, and we always focus on the negative because we can always be better.
Yeah. So that's the key word, right? Is look, we can be at the best at what we do, but that's not really the ultimate word. It's about being better. Like we could always be better at something. Yeah. And it's tying it to that why, right? So when you take that step forward, when you accomplish the mission, how important is coming back full circle to that why there, and when you do accomplish the mission?
Well, I guess the way I would put it is, I always try to look at it not from a sense of myself, but when I create that mission statement, those key tasks, that end state, did we achieve that end state? And if we did, it gives you that sense of satisfaction of I'm contributing to something bigger than myself. That's where it always comes from. It's never about me. Like, oh, wow, I did great. It's about, did I contribute? And sir, I struggle with it every day. I love our country, and I'm not shy about it at all. I love our country, and I'm always looking to how can I better improve it? It's always about, when you find something, how do you leave it better than how you found it? And did I do the things like with a mission or an op or training or working with my guys? Am I doing a way to make the SEAL teams better? Am I leaving it better than how I found it? Am I leaving the nation better, or at least looking to? That's how I feel, is that, yes, I'm happy we accomplished the mission. Good job, boys. But did we make the impact we needed? And that's where, I get the most satisfaction. It's not about the individual accomplishments. It's about the collective accomplishments. And I, when it's done, I look around at my guys and I'm like, they're awesome. They're awesome. It's never about me. I'm always so proud of them. A lot of people don't understand when I say love in the teams, and it's something that's really hard to explain, because that is what the teams are about. It's love in the sense of family. It is a family. Yeah. I make no qualms about it, and that's what's so great about it. And I almost feel bad for some people that don't get to experience it, because it's so amazing. Because it's I can't explain how great it is to come to work every day with your brothers, that you're working with your family. It's awesome.
We had a theme a few years ago, better together. And it really is that sense, isn't it? Like, man, we were just better together. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I love this. I love this conversation. I wish we had more time to dive deeper. I do want your thought on courage just to kind of end on, because I think courage is something that we all face fear, but as my mentor in my life, he was 6.5 years at the Hanoi Hilton, shot down over Vietnam. And he says, courage, it's not the absence of fear, it's the presence of faith. So I'd love to get your thoughts on courage as we close this off.
Yeah, and you're right. There's fear. Fear is there. Fear is always there, but there's a way to combat fear. And one, again, it's stop looking at yourself. Stop worrying about yourself. You have to do it for the ones around you. Courage is created and cultivated through my guys. If my guys are going out into harm's way, and you know what, you can have fear of going into harm's way. But guess what? They're doing it. You can't go out. You can't live with yourself. It's guilt. You can't live with yourself if they're going out there in harm's way, and then you need to get out there. Get out there. You need to be with them. We have this saying. It's called team guy guilt. If we can't be there with the guys, it's like it eats at you because you need to be there, and maybe you don't want to be there really, but it's a compelling sense that you have to do it. And I absolutely agree with you on faith, sir. You have to let go sometimes too, because fear is infected by the insecurity. What's the worst that could happen? Just go. Just do it. That fear of the unknown. Again, when I was telling you about people quitting buds, that's because they lack the courage to keep going because they're fearful. Mm. Fear is what destroys courage. But fear can be beaten. Fear can be beaten, and we all will experience it because we're humans. Humans are angry. They get upset. They get fearful. But how do you fight it?
Yeah.
And again, it's trying to understand that. What's the worst that can happen? You always tend to regret the things you don't do, not the things that you do, right?
Yeah.
It's just like when people quit buds, they lack the courage. Like, man, if I had only just not quit, they regret it because they let fear overcome them. So the way I guess I would say with courage and how to cultivate it would be, stop looking internally, find your why. Remember, when you're fearful and say you're going into harm's way in the military or you're doing something for the company, look at your why. Why am I doing this? And then you let go. I'll leave it on this. One thing also I didn't mention about going through SEAL training is my dad had cancer, right? And so my dad, he passed away. And he was like, he always told me, he was like, I promise I'll be at your bud's graduation, Trey. I promise. I knew he wouldn't. He was dumb. And so 3 days before I went to buds, he died. And, a lot of people would have just said, oh, no, I'm not going to go. And I hated to tell my mom, like, Mom, I have to go. Dad would want me to go. And so I went. And anytime I had a hard time, when I had Dave, I had my teammates. But most importantly, I had my dad. And what do I mean by that? Is my dad said he'd be out there in SEAL training. And again, I'm not preaching religion to anybody or anything. But to me, and this is just my opinion, I knew he was there with me every day. He didn't lie. He was there with me every day. And every time I was having a hard time or I was hurt or anything, I remember seeing my dad go through chemotherapy and going through radio and how he looked and how he was tired and how he couldn't even talk. He had to communicate through computer or writing. And so anytime I was in pain or I'm fearful, I'd always be like, Dad would have been telling you to shut up right now because of what he went through. And it motivated me. And anytime I was fearful, I'd be like, I'd be honest. Hey, Dad, are you going to look out for me on this one? He always did. And on deployment, it's just the same way. Let's always look at Dad. What are we going to do here? And again, I'm not preaching religion to anybody, but that's a big thing for me on how I've overcome courage was I always have a guardian angel with me. And, he said he said he was going to make to my bud's graduation. Well, yeah, he did. He did.
That is powerful. I love it. You shared a lot of great nuggets here. Trey, I love how Dave and your dad really have inspired you. I mean, I know you're going through a challenge right now, just medically, just getting yourself back in play again, and I sense it just talking to you that you have others lifting you up. You've got Dave, you got your dad, you've got others. And we want to support you too any way we can. So, but Appreciate your time today. And this has been great. I love it. So thank you.
Paul, thank you very much. I had a great time. And the best way you can support me is I want to come and see you guys. I don't make this up, Paul. I thrive. I get energy talking about teams. So any way I can help you guys, I want to be there. I can help. Okay, this is how we, and again, I don't dictate anything to anyone. I give tools for your tool belt. Hey, this is what we do in the SEAL teams. It works for us. I understand. Again, like I was talking about, standardization versus customization. It's a different company. I understand. But maybe there's a little tool in there. You're like, oh, that's what they do in the SEAL platoons? Yeah, it works for us. May not work for you. Give it a try.
Yeah, I love it. I love how your teams come together. It's so important. Understanding the strengths, so important. Taking that step of courage together, be there for one another, so important. It just gives us all hope. So appreciate it. And
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Trey.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Breaking Average podcast. If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe. This show was produced by R Squared Multimedia. All opinions and comments expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the opinions or views of any of the advertisers, producers, or platforms. As you continue your day, what is one action that you can apply from this podcast to your life? Tune in for our next episode as we continue to challenge everyone to break average.